With a yo-ho-ho, it's TaleOfTheToaster, and it's been a while since I've made a video in this kind of format, but I really want to talk about BLUELOCK. If you're an existing fan of this channel, you will already know, and if you're new, I'll tell you that I am mainly an Inazuma 11 YouTube channel, so that is a different football, anime, and video game series by level 5, but my entire channel is based around anime football, so it makes sense that when this BLUELOCK thing comes along, takes the world by storm with anime football, even seems to start influencing real world football in the FIFA World Cup, yes, that is something I've got to talk about. So to put a date on this video then, at the current time of recording, the most recent episode of the anime is episode 9, and hopefully by the time of the video's release, that will be episode 10. So that is what I've seen of BLUELOCK so far. I've seen every episode once and no further, otherwise I'm spoiler free on everything that has already happened in the manga up to this point, and you know, I'm kind of going off memory here rather than re-watching episodes in detail to catch stuff I didn't see the first time. What I really wanted to do though is just casually talk about BLUELOCK on the channel for the first time though, and put my thoughts out there on the series so far and see what you guys down in the comments also have to think about it. And what I want to do is, instead of just talking about the episodes individually like I did for Inazuma 11 Aries for instance, I just want to, off the top of my head while I'm enjoying the show, just put together a little casual way of talking about the events so far. And what I've chosen to do is a top 10 characters to talk about each member of specifically Team Z, Team Z as they will say in Japanese and in British as well, but I'll just say Z anyway. I'm just going to list off all the characters of the main team so far based on how much I like them in case it changes in the second half of the season. We're not even halfway through yet. We might even get a completely different team. I don't know how it works, but right now I've been with Team Z for 9 episodes straight, so I'm going to talk about them. In a top 10, there's 11 players, but YouTube algorithm says that a top 10 is better, and also because at number 10 and at number 11 is a shared spot, because the spot goes to, checking my notes in real time, Asahi Naruhaya and Yudai Imamura. Yudai, what a name. Maybe that guy is specifically number 10 and the other one is number 11, but look, they're sharing a spot at the bottom of the list because who are these people? Like, there's definitely 9 very noticeable members of Team Z who you can talk about for at least a little while. But then, going into this, I got to kind of episode 6-ish before I noticed, wait, who's this Darren LeChance Tachimakai looking, you know, brown-haired basic guy? Like, I got excited when I saw him. I thought, oh, they've got a little background character who's not important, and I just want to see if he eventually becomes important or if they're just going to commit to him being a background character for the rest of time, because, you know, I've got these guys at the bottom of the list based on not being important, but I also love unimportant characters. They're a real guilty pleasure of mine, so the fact that I went like 6 episodes without even noticing that one of them was on the team, that was like, okay, this little Tachimakai type guy, he's a friend. I can't praise him for doing literally nothing, but maybe one day. And then, when I was preparing for this video, I realised there were 2 of them. Like, I'm not the most attentive person when watching anime, I fully admit this, or really when watching anything, but I've watched all 9 episodes. One of these 2 I didn't even know was a separate character until writing this one. There's Asahi Naruhaya and Yudai Imamura, and at the time of this video, I don't even know which one's which. I can picture one of them and I can't picture the other, and it's like, well, we'll just roll these guys up into the intro and say, right now they are completely unimportant, but I also love unimportant characters, and so I will eagerly watch on with the rest of the series to see if either they get a moment at all and draw the viewer's eyes towards them, or if they just disappear and become irrelevant for the rest of the time. I'm honestly down for either. So to get into the actual proper list then, at number 9 I'm going to go with Jin Gagamaru. Again, I don't know how to pronounce these guys. Most of the names I didn't even necessarily know until I was planning this video, but It's quite funny as an Inazuma 11 fan. You've got Jin in Blue Lock, and you also in Season 1 had Jin localized as Jim in Season 1, and they're both very similar, like long-haired, creepy dudes. You would think Jin in Blue Lock would be relegated to the defense, much like Inazuma 11's Jin, but actually no, he's been one of the lead goal scorers, and his whole head diving thing. In terms of football technique, that's great little stuff to have. He's like the jumping guy to, you know, what if we took Jin from Inazuma 11 and JP Shinsuke and made them one character? Well, at the end of the day, it doesn't make a really big winning mix. I imagine he will have some more importance as the series goes along. For now, he's just a goal scorer, but not much of a character. He's creepy, he's talented. He doesn't have much of a backstory yet, but that's fine. He'll grow into it. For now, he's number 9, but he could always change. I think my number 8, though, will probably stay there or lower for the rest of the season, because those two nobodies in 10 and 11 could shoot up, but I think we've already kind of reached the peak for Jingo at number 8. This guy's kind of the most typical anime character in there. Just, you know, the sharpened teeth and the just pure anger all the time. I'm gonna fly off the handle at everything! And threaten violence and push you up against the wall. He's just an anime character at the end of the day, and it's not like sports anime can't have these guys, but he's kind of the least original and least likable. Like, I'm never that taken towards the violent, loud guys who are probably more bark than bite. We're seeing with this guy and many other stereotype characters like him in anime. He's fine. He has a lot more spotlight than the other characters that play in defense, that's for sure. I appreciate that he at least doesn't like being in defense. He's not happy to be there, unlike the other guys who either haven't commented on it or are just weirdly okay with it. And indeed, in episode 9, he actually gained on me a lot in that one. Namely, you actually see him doing some defending with some actual technique, which is the first time we've seen any real proper defending in the anime so far. And it was him that did it, so I do want to praise him. I'm not calling anyone in Blue Lock a bad character. They're either non-existent or they're at least good. But this guy kind of falls into the stereotypes of other anime characters in the past that I just don't care about. So let's go for a more important character at number 7. We've got Rensuke, one of the few characters important enough to be in this piece of promo art that I pulled up 5 minutes before recording. I don't get to talk about Ego, man! He's the best character, really, but for another time. Rensuke is kind of the backup protagonist, it feels like. You could take Isagi away and make him the protagonist of Blue Lock instead, and it would make sense. You know, he's a talented striker, he's got goals, he's kind of got that handsome appearance and doesn't really have any detracting qualities about him. He's just not yet got anything to set him apart either. I feel like this guy will have a moment coming. He's kind of had one or two already, but still keeping the focus on the main cast where they can. But I think this guy's got potential, but who does he remind me of? I've never watched My Hero Academia, but I feel like there's a design he really reminds me of. I can't even pull up a visual reference. I'm probably just talking out my arse, but Rensuke gets number 7 because he's not done anything wrong. He's not done any major amount right yet either. He is just a character in the team who's good at football. And it allows me to talk more generally about the concept of Blue Lock. Namely, this fixes a problem that Inazuma 11 has, to draw back to my main football anime again, where strikers naturally get the most attention in football, both in real football and fiction about it. And Inazuma 11 often struggled with defenders never being captains or never being important. They sometimes picked a good goalkeeper to get some focus, but or you occasionally had a good midfielder who gets goals like a striker anyway, but it always generally fell into the trap of strikers are the most important characters. So the idea of Blue Lock, I guess to give a brief summary of the concept, I don't think you would have made it this far into the video without knowing at least a bit about it, but you know, Football but Squid Game. 300 footballers trapped in a facility until one striker emerges as the best striker of all time, and no one else, instead of dying, they just can't represent the national team ever again. To this guy, you feel like he could go far, but the main thing I appreciate about Blue Lock is the fact that everyone is a forward means that the issue of, you know, who gets the main focus in an episode is kind of moot. Like, anyone could be a forward and anyone could go at the front lines. You don't just have to force in a narrative about being a defender or a goalkeeper. You could just say, hey, this is your episode to go and get a goal. Anyone can be important, both on the main team and the opposing ones as well, because literally everyone is a forward. And also, forcing forwards to adapt to other positions is one of the main things I like about any version of football, real or not. Like Inazuma 11 Orion, for instance, I really appreciate the way Hunter Foster, Hiroto Kiyomatatsuya, that's his name in Orion, has to go from being a forward to being a defender because he wasn't standing out as a forward. And yeah, they didn't do as much with that as they could have, but I feel like Blue Lock is actually doing a better job of that. Like, that's a Jingo guy, for instance. He doesn't want to be in defence, but he's gradually getting better at it. So this, the segment is number 7 on Rensuke, just to say he's a good example of, you know, he's a forward, but he's not necessarily the most or least important yet. He's just fitting in quite well. Someone who isn't fitting in that well is Kurimu Igarashi. Don't know if I said that right, but this is the character who, you know, was a monk and has gotten into football to escape that path in life and just make a happier life for himself. As a character, he's not got too much going on. He's kind of the Todd Iron side of the team, or the Kurimatsu, you could say. He's mainly in defence. He's nowhere close to getting a goal, and he's clearly a much worse player than everyone else. But that really works in Team Z's favour, because at the end of the day, this is 300 different footballers that have been gathered to take this grueling examination process, and then you're immediately meant to believe that this, you know, the protagonist we're introduced to, he seemed pretty good. Actually, he's apparently like the second worst in attendance. And having a character like Gurimu, I don't know, but the monk guy is a reminder that, yeah, as this team continues to get gradually better and better, they're still not meant to be that good. They're doing a typical anime narrative of beating teams that are better than them and gradually improving, but we have someone like this who plays an important role to remind you that this is still the lowest ranked team, and if there's any footballers in this facility who are actually a bit crap, then they would end up in Team Z because they're meant to be the lowest ranked players. So simply for not being that good, I do appreciate this guy, and I feel like he's surely got an arc on the horizon. Like, he's the constant reminder of who was lost to make it this far. For instance, all that focus on the white-haired gentleman whose name I forgot, who was in one episode but has still been way more important than Asahi and Yudai by a big margin. But, you know, he's in the team. He was meant to be easy pickings for Isagi to kick off, but he's still here and trying to find his mark. He did a bit of good defending in episode 9, but it's just by tanking the ball with his face. You know what? You're finding your footing. Good for you, King. Could be a controversial one. Number 5, I'm going to go with Hyuma Chigiri. I get the impression that this guy is and will be the fan favourite for the show, and it just doesn't take much figuring out, really. Just based on his appearance alone, this guy was always going to be popular, but his appearance is especially funny when combined with his character, his role, and a comparison to my series, Inazuma 11. So this guy is a striker like everyone, but he was mainly positioned in the defence to start off, and now he's working more as a midfielder to work on his main talent, which is running speed. He's the quickest runner of the team. His outward appearance is extremely feminine, very pretty, and it gets a lot of in-referencing within the show. People giving him she, her pronouns or calling him Missy, that kind of stuff, but still would be kind of conventionally attractive to the characters that he would come across in school, for instance. But if you add it up, he's good at running, positioned in defence, but is moving towards midfield because of his running capabilities. Very pretty, fan favourite character. Pink hair. This is just Nathan Swift and Gabby Garcia combined, or Kirino and Kazemaru from the first two eras of Inazuma 11 meshed into one character. Literally Nathan from original Inazuma, the defender who moves to midfielding, very talented guy, but a hit with the ladies as well. He's on the track and field team, defender but barely defends. And then you've got Gabby from Go, the even more feminine appearance, the actual pink hair, somewhat more stationed in defence, but you put those two characters together and you just get Chigiri from BLUELOCK. And I think that's very hilarious. He's also the character who's kind of had his backstory at this point. I think they picked, they waited a good long time keeping his talent secret, a bit Danganronpa-ish there, making me think, what's the talent going to be? Is he actually going to have one? Is that going to be a Hajime type thing? In the end, no, he definitely does have a talent, and the only reason it was secret was because he, much like an Inazuma 11 character, has suffered an injury and doesn't want to play to his fullest because he's scared of injuring himself. It's like Eric Eagle, it's like Sol Daystar, or Ichino Santayo for Japanese names. This guy is the ultimate Inazuma 11 hybrid, but it's made a fan favourite character. That's why I want to put him at number 5, because it's like, positives, Inazuma 11. Weaknesses, hang on, I'm not watching Inazuma 11, this is BLUELOCK. And, I'm sure if I put him as my favourite character, I'd be one of the masses. But I haven't engaged in the fandom at all. The only person I've really spoken to about BLUELOCK at all is Tatsunami on Twitter, someone who gave me a lot of Japanese Inazuma trading cards for a previous video. You may be familiar with her from the History of Inazuma video. But she was the one that tipped me off and made me finally watch BLUELOCK, so really, really grateful to her for that. I know Chigiri, I think, is your favourite character, but, well, it's definitely up there for me, but not quite in the top 4. Because the top 4 will actually be kicked off by potentially the other fan favourite character, and that is Meguru Bachira. This guy is clearly the most important character behind our protagonists, if not the most important character, just because he's going to carry the story. This guy feels like the Kokichi of BLUELOCK. That's a Danganronpa V3 reference if you haven't played Danganronpa, but anyone who is familiar with Kokichi, I'm sure you know what I mean, right? This guy clearly knows more than he's letting on. He probably is the most talented player in this bunch and has no business being within this low-ranked Team Z division. But I feel like he's probably been planted there on purpose to bring out the potential of characters like Isagi. I feel like this ego guy will be keenly aware of how good Bachira is. And, for instance, he did that solo run to the goal in episode 8 or 9, and he could probably do that again, but I feel like he is holding himself back a bit to focus on the development of the team. So you have to wonder what his motives are going to be. This is pure non-spoiler speculation from me. I do not know anything about BLUELOCK that has not happened in the first 9 episodes, but he seems hard to trust, but also I feel like he is genuine in propping up Isagi, but it's also like, this is meant to be a, one person wins, everyone else gets eliminated. Don't you want to win? Like, I could make some Squid Game comparisons here as well if I want to spoil another show, but yeah, he'll be the runner-up guy of Squid Game, sure. From the title song alone, he's not to be entirely trusted, but maybe he is. Like, maybe he's just a weird guy. Like, he's clearly got some secrets that will be developed over the course of the season. That's why I can't confidently call him the best or the worst character yet. He's clearly just not showed everything so far, but I am, at the very least, intrigued as to where it's going to lead, and he's one of the most fun people to watch actually playing football easily. So we're into the top 3 now, and my number 3 probably will be an unpopular one. I'm going to go with Wataru Kuon, again, spoilers for episode 9 and prior. I'm sure you can't have made it this far without watching the episodes, but this guy is the traitor. The one the floppy hair, looks like he's got his eyes shut all the time, and has ended up being the lead goal scorer and the one who's willing to work with the opponent teams to benefit himself. He wants to just advance as a soloist, doesn't care what happens to Team Z. He's not focused on working with them as a team at all. He's purely focused on he himself being the top goal scorer to get through this facility because he doesn't believe in his team's ability to make it through the facility. And you know what? Let's go, King. I agree. If I was in BLUELOCK, I'd probably do the same thing. Why would I work with these people? BLUELOCK can only have one champion at the end of the day, or at least like a top 5. There's no way all 11 members of your team can stand to benefit from this journey at the end. And you're probably not going to be working with the same people all the way through anyway. Like when you make it to the next round, I assume the team lineups are probably going to change and we might meet some new characters. So why would you try and genuinely befriend these people and work with them when they're only going to they could cut you off later, or you might have to cut them off? You might as well just be uncivil from the beginning and purely focus on yourself. That's what the whole thing's about, is to create the ultimate egoist striker who's purely self-centered, is there to get goals and be exceptional at the game. This guy isn't. I think he's the actual one who's good at jumping, not Jing. Well, I didn't even say the right name there, but you know who I mean. I think there should be more characters like this. The fact that everyone else, like 10 out of 11 players on the team, are cooperating with each other, and all of the opposing teams as far as we can see. Why is everyone working together so well? This guy's got the right idea. It is every man for himself, and yes, the show wouldn't work if you didn't have at least some teammates and some level of cooperation. Like, I get that. From a writing perspective, you can't really afford to have like more than 2 traitors, but this guy's got the right idea, and to have a punished character that they actually don't get along with, it's exactly the dynamic that I was after, and I don't hold it against him at all. Like, as soon as you get eliminated from this, your professional career's over, so do what you can to survive, and cooperating with everyone probably isn't it. The other thing I love is his design as well, because he reminds me so much of Snake from 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors. I'm a huge Zero Escape fan, and these guys are so comparable. Yeah, mainly a lot of it is the eyes thing. Like, Snake is meant to be actually blind. This guy isn't in Kuon, but he's still the traitor. And spoilers for 999. Like, seriously, skip this bit if you haven't played the game, because I love Zero Escape, and just there's some of the best games of all time. So please play them. But on the off chance that you have, yeah, Snake in 999. He wasn't blind, he was faking it. And he was the traitor who was also working for villainous... Well, he wasn't a villain, but he was purely working for himself and deceiving others to get that. The fact that Kuon and Snake from 999 are both so visually comparable and they have pretty much the same story arc, I have to wonder if one inspired the other. They're very, very similar. But I like them both. In both of those games, BLUELOCK's not a game yet, although if it is, subscribe to TaleOfTheToaster and I'll have to bring you some gameplay. Right, no more spoilers for 999, it's back to spoilers for BLUELOCK because we've made it to the top 2. What is my favourite character in BLUELOCK and what is my second favourite character in BLUELOCK so far on Team Z, so no ego, no players from the other teams. I guess my favourite character that's on another team so far is the rich guy from the most recent episode who's just entirely giving the instructions to the lazy dude and just got into football 5 months ago to do something because he's not rich. I don't even know his name, but sure, that's my favourite character. Or is it... Maybe it's some of the characters from outside the facility in episode 1. Maybe it's Isagi's mum. Unfortunately for Isagi, he is going to be number 2, but that's pretty good for a main character. I tend to have a bit of main characteritis here and there. But this guy, he's doing everything he needs me to do. And I think a lot of the side characters or other members of the team should be borrowing from our main guy Isagi a lot. Because this is the only guy Of course it's going to happen to the protagonist, right? But this is the only guy whose reasoning for being in BLUELOCK has actually been explained, other than, I guess, Chigiri, whose idea was to give up on football and just give it one last lash, see if it was worth abandoning. And some of the opposing teams have given reasons for why they're on the team, but, you know, it's obvious. Like, everyone wants to be in BLUELOCK because they want to be the best striker in the world and get picked to play for Japan at the World Cup. Like, there's that base level of understanding, but you have to give up a lot to be in here. You have to be willing to sacrifice everyone else's careers. You have to literally give up your life to live here until only one emerges, and 299 out of the 300 are probably going to leave empty-handed. So overall, it's a bad deal. Isagi gets over that because you look into his mentality and he just clearly thinks he's better than he is to start with, and he wants to prove himself, and he's also a bit of a dick. Like, he was quite willing in the end to sacrifice the career of his main rival from the real world and eliminate him from BLUELOCK at the first sign of danger. That was when I went from, okay, I've went from silly, family-friendly Inazuma 11 stuff to, this is a real boys anime, you know? They're willing to kill each other. They haven't killed each other, but they're definitely willing to destroy each other's lives and get absolutely mega fuming when stuff goes wrong. Episode 1 left such a strong impression for how those betrayals are going to go, and I'm sure we'll get back to that later in the season once people actually start getting eliminated from the facility. No one has been yet because the first 9 episodes have just been a round robin when no one gets eliminated until the end. But this is the one guy we've actually seen commit a betrayal at one person's, like, behest. I guess you've got Kuon, who did it at everyone else's behest as well, and that's why, surprise surprise, he's also in my top 3 characters. But if I were a professional footballer, right, or at least aspiring to be one, I'm doing well in my local leagues, I've been invited to BLUELOCK, I get there, I learn the terms and conditions, Ego tells me what you have to sacrifice to be in here. You have to live here. You have to screw everyone else over. Would I go along with this? No! Like, it's an extremely likely possibility that your career is done for good. And yeah, this is probably the only path to the World Cup at the end of the day, but the sacrifices here are too much to say yes to. Isagi, you can believe that he's messed up enough to actually go along with it. The other team members, I don't really feel that. They're just having a good time so far, and they're cooperating as teammates very efficiently. They're actively enjoying themselves. We haven't tapped into the fact they all made a pretty morally shaky decision to be here, but Isagi fully plays into that, and he's got further to go. Like, you can see how he just taps into the monster every time he wants to go for his goal. He could be like an actual fairly villainous protagonist, and that is something that I don't get to enjoy as an Inazuma 11 fan, where we've had 3 straight protagonists, probably 4 by the time of Victory Road of Heroes, where they were all just good guys who could never put a foot wrong. They're purely for the benefit of the team, as well as themselves secondarily. Like, Mark Evans and Arian Sherwind and Sonny Wright, at the end of the day, are basically the same character as each other. Or Endo, Tenma, and I've forgotten Sonny's name. I've never watched that in Japanese. Asuto, there you go. Whereas this guy is the complete opposite. Finally, I get to watch a football anime where the protagonist isn't just a goody-goody two-shoes, and he's willing to cause some chaos. So I really like him. But I don't like him as much as my number 1, and that is Okuhito Iemon. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Iemon? It's spelled like lemon when you write it down, and lemons are like my favourite food ever, so maybe that's it, but no. I love this guy for completely contradictory reasons to everyone else. I've been saying how everyone's quite willing to give up their free lives, and they should still be fighting to play in forward position so that they can show they're the best striker and get the most goals to progress like Kuon's doing. But Iemon is just the nicest guy in the world. He's in BLUELOCK to be the best striker in the world. That's his official reason for being here. He's given up his life, his family, his career probably to be here, and he has not set a single minute of play outside of the goal. He is a striker, and he has played 4 matches out of 4 as a goalkeeper. He doesn't like it. He said that he doesn't like it. He's also not even good at being a goalkeeper. We've seen him make 1 save, and yeah, generally the team doesn't lose matches by that big of score lines necessarily. You know, you're getting away with 3-4 wins, or the original 8-0 loss was followed by no wipeouts of that level since, but pretty much any time anyone makes a shot on this guy, it goes in. He's started jumping in the right direction. He's learning. He's becoming a better goalkeeper, but he's still completely out of his element. He kind of sucks. I think he's made 1 save in the entire season. Don't know if that matches up with the manga, but it's like, why are you doing this to yourself, man? You want to be a striker. You're not that great as a goalkeeper, but he just feels obliged to stay there because no one else is going to volunteer, and he at least believes he's doing well enough, or it's implied that he's doing well enough to be the best goalkeeper on the team, and he's just completely leaving everything up to the fate of the other players to carry him through to the next round. If Team Z doesn't win, he goes home without playing a single minute of football outside of the goal. And I would feel so bad for him because he's the guy that's made a bigger sacrifice than anyone else here. Everyone's made a sacrifice to be here, except maybe the monk guy, I guess. But this guy made sacrifices to be in BLUELOCK, and now he's continuing to make sacrifices while being in BLUELOCK. The poor guy can't catch a break, but I really, really want him to have a dedicated episode that actually touches upon what he wants. I want to see his desire to get out of the goal and start striking goals again, while at the same time seeing him appreciate goalkeeping more and getting better at it. I want to see both sides, or just see which direction the writers run with it. Surely they're going to pick one, right? Either he has to be incredibly envious of the players who are playing outfield, or he can actually grow to like goalkeeping. I think it's kind of one or the other, or maybe somehow a blend of both, because Isagi's a good blend of both a good guy and a bad guy at the same time. But I am more interested in how Iemon develops than any other character, and he is the one that my eyes are on throughout every episode. When I see a goalkeeper, I'm thinking, is this the time he makes a save? Come on, Iemon! No, it isn't, but we'll get your episode eventually. And he's such a typical Inazuma design as well. It's like, oh, well, the goalkeeper out of these 11 has to be the big, bulky, buff dude, the one who looks like he was custom drawn to be a goalkeeper. It'd be a fairly believable striker as well, but out of all 11 of these people, of course he's the goalkeeper. It's so typical, but I feel bad for him, but I love him, and I can't wait to see what they do with him in future episodes. But that's it. That's my off-the-cuff thoughts on BLUELOCK and my top 10 in terms of who are my favourite characters so far. I'm only a bit over a third of the way through the season, but I'm interested to see how many people enjoyed this video. Leave a comment about BLUELOCK down below if you did enjoy it, or if you're just enjoying the anime in general. And maybe as the anime goes further on, I'll get some more ideas on stuff to talk about in this show. It's not like I'm going to review every single episode like I did with Inazuma Aries, but I like this, so far I might just talk about it a few times. Especially if it gets another season. I want BLUELOCK to be a staple of the future. If Inazuma is dead and buried, give me this. I love BLUELOCK. And I love all of you for watching, so thank you, subscribe, leave a like, a comment, and I will see you in either another Inazuma video or maybe a bit more BLUELOCK content. Who knows? See you then.